interview with her on Dagens Industri Digital, where she says that, and I quote, "It is the entrepreneurial-driven economy that makes Sweden strong. Innovation is what takes us forward. Sweden needs startups more than they need us," I think referring to politicians. And I did a research about her, and she's a big football fan, and also she used to be a goalkeeper back in her days. So I consider her I compared her to the Zlatan, as Zlatan is on a league of his own in football, and I think Annie Lööf is on her league of her own in Swedish politics. So please give a very big welcome to the fantastic Annie Lööf.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm so glad that so many of you showed up this evening. It's actually great weather outside, so thank you.
We keep it short so that everyone goes there.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, Annie, we usually start with talking about the background of our guests. So if you can tell us who you are and about your child. We start with the childhood.
My childhood, I'm from a very tiny village in the southern part of Sweden, in a region called Småland. It's actually just a little village, and my grandma and grandpa lives there still. I'm so proud of them. They are almost 90 years old now, and my uncle and my cousins and my mom and dad, they are still living in this tiny little village. I grew up there. It was a very safe place with a lot of love and a lot of nature, a lot of relatives. It's perfect when I go back nowadays, because then I take a walk in the village and I meet everyone. So, and I grew up there, and I did. It's 10 minutes with car from the town called Värnamo, where I went to school. And I grew up with my grandma after school, and because I didn't went to like dagis or fritids, as we call it in Sweden, I went to my grandma. So she learned me how to handle with animals in the farm, and how to cook, and how to fix up even some cookies. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I learned a lot.
Kids don't learn that in dagis these days.
No, they don't.
And what did your parents do?
My dad, he was a police officer when I grew up. Nowadays, he's the mayor of Värnamo municipality, but he was a police officer when I was little. My mom still works at the local bank, so bank and police. I found that very fun when I was little.
And do you have any sisters or brothers?
Yes, I have two sisters. Caroline, she is 3 years younger than me. She has two great sons. I love them. They are 4 years and 1.5 years. I play with them a lot. And then I have a little sister, 10 years younger than me. She's actually, I think she will be an entrepreneur one day. She's studying to be a civil engineer, but she likes the business development and so on. So maybe she will be an entrepreneur here 5 years.
She has fast track to the community, so you can hook us up with her. And how about school days? How were you? What was Annie like in school?
I was social, outgoing, kind, I think, I hope. But also I studied very hard. I was a very ambitious student and pupil, and I played a lot of soccer. So I combined those, like, ambitious student with a trunk here with my soccer things.
You played football since you were very young.
8 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's nice.
And I quit when I was 20.
And you were always the goalkeeper?
Not at the beginning,
no.
But from 12 years old or so, I started to become a goalkeeper, and then I was goalkeeper in the women's team in Värnamo for 5 or 6 years.
Okay. Which team do you support now?
IFK Värnamo, my home team,
okay.
Of course.
Okay.
I'm very patriotic in that question.
Okay, and from the ones that are on the European level, like in Champions League?
Oh, in Champions League, I love Manchester United or Barcelona. Is also great.
We're not going to agree on that. Okay. So what happened after school? What did you do when you graduated from high school?
When I graduated, I went to London with some friends to party and to work as a barista in Notting Hill at Coffee Republic. So I worked as a barista for 3 months or so, and then I was longing for my boyfriend and moved back to Sweden and started at the university after a year off.
From school?
From school.
Okay. Was the barista experience here the same as the one in London?
No, I've forgotten everything almost. It was not art on the latte. It was more white. But I tried to do my best. And when I was barista 15 years ago, it was not that modern machines. It has changed a lot, actually. But I hope some of you got good coffee. I hope so. It was at your own risk, I told you, but I hope so.
I'm sure they did. And what happened after the year? So you started university. Which university?
I started in Lund, and I finished in Lund as well. So I have my degree is Master of Laws from the Lund University, and I specialized in criminal law, domestic violence, and I wanted to become a prosecutor, so that was my purpose of life before I got hit by the political system.
And was there a reason why you wanted to become a prosecutor, like domestic violence or?
I wish I could say like to save the world or so, but actually when I was 13 or 14 years old, I watched a television show called Ally McBeal, and I loved her. And I watched so many TV shows on with lawyers and prosecutors and so on, and it sparked my interest. So that's why I continued to read more about this job, and all my extra jobs and all the
internships
and so on has been at law firms or and so on. So it interested me a lot.
Okay. And so you started university, and how did you started being interested in politics?
I've always loved to debate and to argue, and I wish I could say that it was because I wanted to change the world and to save the world, but that came later. It was, we have always had discussions back home with my parents. My dad is a politician also, as you know, and but we didn't talk about party politics. We talked, in general about what was missing. I thought, for instance, that the cinema in Värnamo was pretty lousy, and I thought that the infrastructure where I live were terrible, and one day I figured out that it was due to policies in my own municipality, and if I had all these views, I need to take the step to influence or to improve the conditions, and that's why I started to read all the pamphlets or the platforms for different parties, and I became a member of my party when I was 18 years old.
Yeah, very impressive, very young, at a very young age.
Yes, and I was involved in environmental friendly questions and entrepreneurship. I grew up in a region in Sweden which are called the Gnosjöregion region, with a lot of small businesses and a strong will to fight and to develop the welfare system with energy and with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Actually, I think Jonas said that to us when we started promoting the event. And I remember that I forgot at my introduction to say that you can ask questions, right? I forgot that. Okay, sorry. Okay, and
So it's not only Morale that can ask me questions, it's,
yes,
it's all of you.
if you want to show the slide here, Jonas, you can do it. Since I forgot, I'm making up now.
I'll show you.
You can ask questions, and Jonas is going to ask us later after I ask all my questions to Annie. So you will.
I can answer that one. What is your biggest regret?
No, not yet.
Not yet. No. It's a cliffhanger.
Okay, you have to wait a bit. Okay, I voted to be the first one asking all the questions, so no one asks before me.
So getting to slide 38,
Yeah.
I'll tweet it out.
Yeah. Okay, so after our chat, they can ask the questions and the regrets and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, so you come from an area which is very entrepreneurial, then.
That's true.
Yes. Is Sweden usually, good in tech? Is it some companies that came up from that region?
Yes, of course. We have a lot of impressive companies. IKEA, for instance, is from the region of Småland. It's a quite famous worldwide company. We have Thule. I think you've heard of Thule. It's they make boxes where you have your skis when going to the Alps or to the Swedish to go skiing in Sweden. It's a well-known company.
Okay.
And many more, of course.
Yes, but IKEA is enough, I think, for everyone. Okay, so you became interested in university. Did your father influence your decision on which party to select? Since you said he was into politics.
We started together 15 years ago in politics. Okay, he was a member in my party in the 70s, but I didn't know that. So when I came home a November evening and told my parents that I think I will be become a member of the Center Party, then my dad explained his history, and he decided also to become renew his membership in the Center Party. So the election in 2002 in Sweden for the municipality, we were on the same voting list. He was number 1 and I was number 2 on this newcomers list. So he did come back, and I followed him, or he followed me.
You influenced him, I think, not the other way around. Yeah. And so you became a member, and how did things evolve until you became a party leader?
It was quite a quick career, but it has a lot of ingredients, and I did a lot during these years. I was 18 when I became a member in my party and in the Center Party Youth, and after a while I became the second chair of the Center Party Youth at a national level. And I was the second chair for many years, and I quit 2007, I think, when I became an MP.
Yes.
And I started to study in Lund 2003, I think. So I studied 3 years, and then I was elected by personal votes to the Swedish Parliament. And it's like personal votes, you get a cross in front of your name, and I beat the number 1 on the list. I was number 2, and I became the number 1 with all those personal votes.
Okay. And then you graduated after this?
Yes, I graduated 2011, so I'm a long-living student. I studied for like 8 years or so, but I graduated and got my degree 2011, and the day after I was presented as the new party leader of Center Party, so it was quite a tough time there. It was quite busy. But I got my degree in September 2011, and then I've been an MP for 5 years. I've been a member of the Standing Committee on Constitution and a member of the Standing Committee on Finance. I studied half-time during that time as well, because for me it was so important to get my degree. so many politicians in Sweden have half studies or half degrees.
Dropouts.
Yeah, they are dropouts. Yes, I try to say it more like not
Politically
dropout.
correct.
Yeah, yes, but they are dropouts, and I didn't want to become that. So for me, when people ask me what is your title, I used to say I'm a master of laws, and not party leader, because it's so important for me to have this like civil identity. So to say, because that's something you always have the use of, even in the future. Even if I won't be party leader forever. So and it's very good to have this background.
Okay, but have you practiced law before becoming?
Not as a fulfilled degree of Master of Laws, but I worked at a firm like a paralegal assistant, so to say, during my study time, and as a politician, I've worked with laws every day.
Yeah.
We do legislation, so and that's a very good background to have this education. When you create laws and when you are in committees that create laws. And I've done a lot of committee work during my years in the parliament.
Okay. And I've heard that you got voted by the party, members of party. You and they were also, you were not the first woman who got selected. Throughout history, there were always women leaders. Yeah.
I'm the third one, so I'm very proud of my party and our history on gender equality. Because without a quota system, we have had 3 women leaders. And our first women leader, Karin Söder, she was the first women leader ever for a party in the Swedish parliament. So we are very, very proud of her. And she has helped so many women leaders to take place and to step forward and to take the challenge. And so we are proud.
Okay. But you were the youngest one.
I'm the youngest one.
Yes.
Oh, I was the youngest one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Someone took that title.
Yes.
But it's okay. You have more titles.
Yeah. Ebba is younger than me today.
Yeah. Not everyone here. Some of us are older. Okay. Let's move to the section where we talk about the entire startup grind objective, or what we stand for here is that how can we help each other. And then we usually the community, or even the normal, like outside the community, people always, if something happens, we always blame the government and say government this, government that. And
I know.
Yeah. So let's. We're not here for any political debate, but we are here to show how can we help each other from the community and the people who have the power, and now we're also having some more power, maybe, hopefully in the future. So I will ask you questions about that specific area. Let's start now. We always say, the community always says that politicians don't really understand what we are doing and what the community stands for, what startups are, and so on. How do you think politicians and the government understand what this is all about?
No, I don't think that. And I say that because I've worked in that area for such a long time, and I have struggled with policies, with in negotiations and so on. And it's too few politicians that understand the economic shift in the Swedish society from heavy industry to more entrepreneurial economy. And I don't think the political system, I will say that because it's in every party, and it's don't understand the strength and the impact that the startup scene have, and the entrepreneurs have. And I think, thank you. I'm not finished. But I work, and I can say I don't understand all either, because I think you're an expert here, and I'm not supposed to be the expert on the startup scene. You're an expert, but I'm very interested, and I've worked and talked to so many entrepreneurs and tech companies and the community here for such a long time, and that interests me a lot, and I know that I could have done more when being a minister for innovation and enterprise. I'm very keen on that, but I did a lot. But I think also you need to understand that we have 8 parties in the parliament, and none of us have our own majority, and that's why we need to negotiate. We need to cooperate with others. So it's not enough that one politician understands your need, and it's not everyone needs to do that. Otherwise, we won't get the change. And I can come up with so many political ideas and reforms that I want to do, like the taxation on.
Okay, let's take one step at a time.
Yeah, but I can come up with so many ideas, and I am willing to struggle for that and to negotiate about that. But I think that you need to educate more politicians to understand the conditions that you are in and what we need to change, and that's very important.
Okay, what got you personally interested in the community versus why do you think, let's start with that. Why are you interested in this community?
I like ideas. I like when someone makes something out of nothing, so to say. I'm so proud when I see people do that amazing thing, because I'm not an entrepreneur, so I can't see those spots where I need to move. But you can see that, and I'm very impressed of that. But also, of course, I'm also interested in those issues because they create welfare, they create jobs, they create success for Sweden, for our economy. It puts Sweden on the map globally. That's why it's also so important. And last but not least, the meetings with all these startups gives me so much energy. So when I lack of energy, I used to meet some entrepreneurs or some companies because it gives me so much strength and energy.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't
So thank
know.
you so
Yes,
much for
yes.
that.
Okay, so if anytime you need any energy, so you can tweet to the hashtag Stockholm Tech and someone will pop in.
Thank you. That's a good. I will do that.
So let's say the government doesn't understand exactly what this movement is all about because of this
The political system.
The political system, yes. The political system. What can we do as a community to change that? How can we help educate the political system to understand what we are doing and why this is valuable?
This is a good step to invite politicians and to ask them questions, because then they need to read and to get knowledge about your sector. If you're a minister of enterprise, for instance, I've been that, before a visit, you read a lot. And it's a very good step to get to know a sector and to get to know a company, for instance. So that's a good thing.
To invite them.
Invite them. And it's also important, I think, to have this meeting under radar. Not only debate in the media, but have the meetings and explain to them or us what the situation is look like and what conditions do you need and how the policies affect you in the everyday life as an entrepreneur. And of course, it's also a possibility to be a politician your own, of course, to get your background in the political system. It's too many bureaucrats as a politicians and too few entrepreneurs as politicians. And then I also think you need to be more smart in your with which politicians do you visit or do you invite? For instance, the Minister of Finance is very important. She has the real power over taxation issues, and taxation is a great and important issue for the startup scene.
Yeah.
Don't only go to the Minister of Enterprise. Try to speak with the Minister of Housing or the Minister of Employment or the Minister of Finance, because the business climate is depending on so many different issues and perspectives. So the whole government need to work and deal with these issues, and the more that get to know you, the easier it gets in negotiations.
Okay. So can you do us an introduction to each of these ministers?
Of course, of course.
You spoke about some politicians are entrepreneurial and some are not. Probably majority are not. So do you think, as a politician, there are similarities between an entrepreneur and a politician?
Of course,
Yeah.
it is. I think a good politicians need to combine individual skills with working in a team, and that's very important for entrepreneurs as well. You also need to know the unique selling point of your party, and it's the same with entrepreneurs to be successful. You also need to have a great and wide network. So it's a lot of things that combine us, actually. Then it's, of course, the things that differ us, but it's quite similarities. I think you can see some similarities between entrepreneurs.
How about the campaigns that politicians do and the marketing that startups do? Do you think there are similarities in that? In the campaigns, like to market yourself.
Yeah, the ads and so on.
Yeah.
I think the politicians have been more modern in communications during the later years. So I think we become more and more businesses when we talk about ads and so on. But the things that differ us is, of course, that we have like a public sector, we have our political ideas and so on, but many of the parties things like an entrepreneur, actually, with ads, with campaigns and so on. But yeah, of course we have an ideological agenda, but
yes,
and it depends.
But you are a good example of using digital communication, I think, to...
Yeah, I love it, because it's so fun. When I was elected an MP 2006, the media in Sweden made a big thing about I was a blogger then. So I had a homepage and a blog, you know, it's so old, but and it was the great thing. When I was personally elected, I was 6 out of 349 in the parliament, and the Channel 4 in Sweden, they had a great article about, Annie was elected because of her blog. And today it feels like, okay, I was first, almost. But today I'm very, I try to be very active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and I do it my own because I think it's important to have, it takes a lot of time, of course, but I think it's important to have this direct conversation with the voters. So I try to answer as much as I can, but it's hard sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard, especially if you are really doing that, all the posts.
Yeah,
yeah,
I do. Not on the fan page,
no,
but the
personal.
other. Yeah.
Okay, that's very impressive. Talking about these laws and regulations and the movement, you backed up publicly Spotify movement, and the Spotify movement had 3 points about the housing and the digital education, teaching kids in coding, and also the stock options for employees. The magic question is, when you were Minister of Enterprise and Innovation, what did you try to change? Did you do anything to change these 3 points so that it will become easier for startups to bring in people?
We did a lot, but not enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this debate today. And I'm the first one to confess that we could have done so much more reforms to, for instance, to for more housing, for more apartments here in Stockholm, but also in the rest of the country. I launched finally this committee that on taxation for employee stock options after 3 years of negotiate that in the government. But we launched it, and now we've got a proposal, I would say, because I think we will improve. The government will improve it. I hope so.
Okay, since not everyone here is familiar with every single detail, let's explain.
Me neither.
Yeah. Let's explain how does it work, because Sweden, let's say, for people who come from abroad like me, we always say Swedes cannot take decisions, and we sit in meetings over every Monday until for 2 years, and no one is making the call. So is it the same in the government? How does it work? Okay, you did the committee. This committee, you have pitched it to the government.
The government launched a committee, and the committee worked for between 6 months and 2 years, 3 years sometimes, and then they come up with a committee report, and now this committee report is on referral for some months during summer. So you need to answer on that referral. That's one thing that's very important, because if you would like to improve this, you need to write letters and answer to the referral process.
Where can we do that if we want to?
To the government. Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, the government won't listen. So it's very important if you will improve that question.
Okay, and then based on all the feedback from the people, and the government will make a decision.
Sometimes they listen and sometimes they don't. And then they hopefully improve this, and they propose a legislation in a bill, and the bill goes directly to the parliament, and in the parliament we discuss it for some weeks or so, and after that we push on the yes button and have a good legislation for the taxation on stock options for employees.
And timeline-wise, this is
it depends on
2020?
Earlier, hopefully. But it depends on the government. The government decides the legislation, the speed of this process. They decide when the legislation will start. But my party, in our budget, because we have our own budget, we have had this taxation, or the better taxation, a year or so. So if 50% of the Swedish people voted for Center Party, we would only have an improvement of this taxation.
Okay, next campaign, everyone votes for the Center Party then.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Okay. So there is no, last week on this stage, Breakit hosted the current enterprise minister, Mikael Damberg. I'm very bad with names. And he said, referring to the housing issue, that there is no magic pill. Is there anything we can do today to make sure that, like, I'm looking for an apartment to rent, for instance, now. How can you help me find an apartment to rent? Is there a magic pill? Is there a quick fix solution?
Of course, we have quick fixes, but I think they are too controversial for the political system, and that's why Mikael Damberg said so. Because in Sweden we have this rent-controlled model, and it's not flexible, and it creates less houses, less apartments, and it's a mess in Sweden, because it's so hard to get an apartment compared to Berlin or Brussels, for instance. And I think we need to change this model, and my party, but also my coalition partners, the Liberals and the Conservatives, they also want to change that. And right now we are in the middle of deep and broad negotiations with the government. 6 parties right now negotiate on how to get more houses in Sweden or apartments, and this rent model that we have, rent control model that we have in Sweden, it's one of the demands from our parties to change, but the government will not change it because they don't want to. It's too controversial. So I would say to Mikael Damberg, there is one quick fix. You can change the rent control model, and that's a very important step to create more apartments. Look at Brussels, look at Berlin. That's an important step, but you also need to cut, so to say, red tape in the housing sector. That's important. The government put more legislation on the housing sector. You need to cut it. That's also quite a quick step. So there are some magic pills, not one, but some.
But can they apply them, like, let's say, tomorrow, if they want to?
Not tomorrow, but
after midsummer?
Like next year.
Oh, next year. Okay, that's not bad for Sweden.
No, that's not bad.
Okay. Yeah, I think that you really, I mean, I believe that you, if you are part of the government next round, you will drive, hopefully, you have the voice from the community to make those changes. I don't know what the current government will do, but I mean, we're competing against Berlin and other cities like San Francisco, and Stockholm has become one of they call it in the business region, the unicorn factory.
The unicorn factory, and I'm so proud of that, because it's so interesting to go to other cities and to learn. And I've been to Silicon Valley, I've been to Berlin, I've been to London, and when I came to Berlin some years ago, I asked them, what can Stockholm learn? And they said to me, no, wrong question. What can we learn from you? Because we have a great platform in Stockholm and in Sweden, because the startup scene is also very good, I would say, in cities like Malmö, Skövde, Sundsvall, for instance. I've met a lot of entrepreneurs there that are struggling with the same political system as you do here in Stockholm. And my wish is that Sweden and Stockholm can continue or maintain our position as one of the leading countries in the world on the startup scene. But then you need to reform, because other countries and other cities, they are moving fast. Yeah. And we need to run even faster to maintain our position. Yeah. And that's why we need to make some reforms in schools, more digital tools, for instance. Coding is one interesting and also very important part. We also need to reform the housing market in Sweden, the labor market, to get right people in the company. We need to reform the taxation system. And I know that I should have done all of this when I was minister. We did a lot. We lowered the taxes, we cut red tape, we did some reforms on lower the taxes for young entrepreneurs, for instance. That was very important for me, but we didn't do enough. But we need to have politicians in the government that understands the conditions on small and medium-sized enterprises. Even if they're startups or if it's industrial companies in my home region, we need to have favorable conditions for businesses to grow in Sweden.
Yeah. And you said we need to move fast, but hopefully the government can move fast, because I mean, Stockholm is competing and it's the unicorn factory, but there will be no factory if we don't have people sleeping in houses, I guess.
That's true, that's true. And the government we have a socialistic government in Sweden right now, and they need to understand that we need to make reforms in a different kind of areas. And as I told you before, you need to invite the Minister of Housing, or we have no Minister of Housing right now because he's left, but you need to invite the Minister of Housing, you need to invite the Minister of Finance, and not only the Minister of Innovation, because I think Mikael Damberg understands, and he's very engaged, or so say, he has a passion in these issues as well. Oh, I'm so kind right
Yes.
now. But he has. But he also needs the strength in negotiation with other ministers.
Yes.
And that's why you need to talk to them as well.
I think that was the Stockholm syndrome.
Mm.
Okay.
I will debate with Mikael tomorrow.
Yeah, no,
Because-
you're, if he listens to reads any of the tweets, you're lending a hand that you are coming in peace. So that maybe, I mean, opposition and government should work together.
Yes,
eventually.
and some weeks ago I asked for a general debate in the parliament on after this Spotify debate, and to have a debate on conditions for fast-growing companies. And tomorrow at 1 o'clock after lunchtime we will start in the parliament.
We will watch you.
Oh, thank
Yes.
you.
And tweet.
And we'll do it in Swedish, but
Yes.
yeah, you can translate.
Yeah, but there was something that is a new app, was it, that you automatically translate. So things are happening and everyone doesn't need to know Swedish maybe one day. Okay, moving on to women, and there's a big debate in the Stockholm tech scene that there are not enough women in tech and in the startup world, and there are lots of challenges in finding those women and encouraging them to start something on their own. However, I mean, if equality is the place to be, Sweden is a leader when it comes to having equal rights, and also I read on the website it's a feministic government, which is almost 50-50. What do you think, but it's not the case in tech or even on corporate boards. And you are a woman leader who represents a party of a lot of other women leaders. What do you think is missing, or what can we do, or what do you think that we can do to encourage more women and find them or bring them or empower them to become part of this movement as well?
When I became a leader, or was elected as a leader and appointed as minister, role models was very important for me. And I think role models are important even for girls or young women that are longing to be an entrepreneur, but they don't have the strength or the willing or the sometimes maybe not the interest. So role models, I think it's very important. It was important for me, and I think it's important for entrepreneurs as well. I also think that you need to encourage both boys and girls to do tech, to do math, to do this typical boyish things.
Yeah.
You need to encourage even girls and young women to
So
do
in
that.
schools, you mean?
In schools you need to do that, but I'm a liberal, so I don't like the political system to do that. I am a strong believer in individual freedom and individual freedom to choose. So the society needs to do that. Like me as a mother will encourage my daughter to encourage herself to do whatever she wants to, and mothers and fathers and sisters and so to say, the civil society need to work with gender equality.
Okay. So it's a effort from everyone.
It's an effort, yes.
We're not going to blame the government on that.
And I also think that you in here, you are role models for the next generation. You are a role model. You are a role model through Twitter, for instance. I think many young girls are following you, and maybe hopefully, yes. And I also think that we need to explain what a entrepreneur or a businessman looks like. When I started to become a politician, we go to classrooms in schools and we explain our party's ideas and views. And I always started with a question: how does a politician look like? And everyone like, oh, it's a man. It's with a portfolio. It's you can understand what the following answers are, but. Then I said, but I'm a politician. I'm a full-time working politician in the national parliament. They knew that, but I also said that, and they was, oh, okay. Yeah. And I also think that if you ask the same class, what does an entrepreneur look like?
Yeah.
Today maybe it's different because Spotify or Klarna or also on Facebook, Mark, has changed that. But if you asked my class when I was young, my classmates, they would see like these old man driving his Mercedes with the suit to the factory, and they didn't see all these cool business ideas and
now it's a Snickers with a Tesla, maybe.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
Exactly.
Okay. Coming to the two last parts of my questions.
Oh, it's quick.
Yes. Personal part, and you know, we try to show to our community and the audience that the person who is successful and a leader as you, who sits on our hot seat, is also a human being. So that has good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And so, can you tell us what was your worst day in your life until now?
Some years ago, my both parent-in-laws died in cancer, and my mother-in-law she passed away only 5 days before our marriage, and it was very, very hard for me and my husband. So 2011 was a special year. It was both, you know, like the graduation and my degree, and party leader was appointed to the minister, but also so much sadness.
Mm-hmm. And what was your best day then in your life so far?
Oh, the 10th of September last year, when our daughter Esther came. Yeah, it was amazing.
It's always special that no one ever talks about work when I ask this question. It's always the family.
Yeah, but that's because that work is not life. For me, work is, of course, a passion, and I work too much, if you ask my husband. Yeah. But and I love my work. But what really counts inside is the family, and that's why you need to combine both on this level, top level, or this busy schedule. So for me, it's very important to try to combine them all the time, because if I'm not a good mom for Esther, I'm not a good party leader as well.
And was your current husband, is the one you came back for from London?
No,
that was another.
Yeah, it was too.
Okay,
it was
sorry, I didn't.
We met 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Okay, and you have a baby together now.
Yes.
Esther. Okay. Okay. Last part before we open the question. If Annie is not a politician and a party leader today, what do you think you would have done as another profession?
Yes, I would have been a prosecutor or a lawyer, because my degree in Master of Laws is very important for me. So yeah, I would say prosecutor or a lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, 2 more questions and then we open. Okay.
Or maybe an entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah. Maybe I can combine them. Yep.
I think you are somehow.
Not the prosecutor, but the lawyer.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna say, this is the first time I do this. I'm gonna say 3 words, and then I want you to spontaneously to think of 1 word.
That's hard for politicians.
Yeah. You have to be quick. The first thing that comes to your mind. So I'm gonna say 3 different words. 1, and then I stop. You say, and then the second one, and then you the third one. And then just be spontaneous. It's not. One of them is a serious one.
Yeah.
One of them is a neutral one, and the third one is a fun one. So I'm helping you out here. You don't know the words yet. Okay, the first one. Stockholm Tech.
Amazing.
Okay. Okay. She gets a clap for that. The second one, Mikael Domberg.
Exciting.
Exciting. You are being really too nice to him today. And the last fun one is Zlatan.
king.
Okay. Legend or king?
Or legend.
I saw that you really love him on your Facebook,
Yes,
so I like
do.
him too.
He's so good because in Sweden we have a law, it's not a real law, but it's a law called jante. And he is not jante
No,
at
he's
all.
nothing.
No, he's very
It's very
cool.
un-Swedish, I
And
think.
I love him for that. He's so un-Swedish,
Swedish,
yes.
Okay, and I wish I could capture every facial expression you did from my view when I asked these ones, but we go with the words. And my last question is, and my favorite one actually, is do you have any favorite startups? You don't have to be politically correct. What are your favorite startups in, hopefully, Stockholm or Sweden? You can choose up to 3, not more.
Okay, the startups which I use is of course Spotify.
Yeah.
I listen to their music. Klarna, I pay my bills with Klarna, used to. And I think Truecaller.
Truecaller.
Yes.
Yeah, we had them a guest. You can clap. Yeah. We had them a guest last September.
But they are amazing. I know Peppy Pals. I read the books to my daughter right now. She don't understand because she's 8 months, but I try to learn her some.
Yes, I was not fishing for that at all. Okay, so I will shut up now and give the floor to you all to ask a question. Do we have any fun questions?
Can you explain why the bidrag offered by Arbetsförmedlingen to start a new company is only available after you've been looking for work for 6 months?
No, that's so strange, but before it was even longer, you need to wait. So I changed that, so now it's only 6 months. Before it was like 1.5 years, so lucky you. But it's quite odd actually that this starta eget bidrag, you can't get it until you've tried everything else. Then you can maybe start a company. It's so strange. I know that, but we changed the time to 6 months some years ago, and hopefully we can change it even more as to first month or so. But yeah, we have changed it, but not enough.
Well, we're looking forward to more of that. The next one is from Katarina Bjerts. She asks for your 3 best negotiation tips.
To write down the most important things for you, so you have them in the very top of mind. That's very important because you can't win everything. You need to choose 1 or 2 or 3 things. Then you need to learn your enemy. And what the enemy looks like, and her or his skills in negotiating, and after that you need to argue. You need to find your arguments. Yeah, I think that's all you need.
Sweet, we're all top
In a meeting room, virtual or physical in here.
This is an interesting question. What do you think of automating the work of politicians, i.e. replacing them with intelligent algorithms or bots?
Maybe we'll see that in the future. I like the politicians, but even, yeah, maybe. That's a good idea, but I don't think it will work actually, because maybe in 200 years or so, but not during my lifetime.
All right, so I know we're running out of time here, but the last question for today is: how can new citizens involve themselves in politics in Sweden?
We are not that good in Sweden to open the doors for new citizens, not even into the labor market in Sweden, but nor the political system. My party isn't that good at all. So we have launched a new project for that. We had one person that are working with that full time to strengthen our network, to reach the new citizens, to get them involved. And I think the most important part here is also to listen and not to explain to them what to do, rather ask them, what can we do for you? Because there are so many new ideas and so many new perspectives when you listen to people from different backgrounds and cultures.
Fantastic. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
May 28th, 29th, that weekend, a hackathon about refugees. The Deputy Director General of Migration Forget, and I'm pronouncing it like an American, it works. It's reached out and said he wants to get innovative, but we're going to do a hackathon and really build kind of the dream tool that Migration Forget have been waiting for. And I'd like to, if for those who are interested in that and want to know more about that, you can contact me. He's going to come on stage tomorrow night at the tech meeting. We're going to go into detail about it. But I think this is the opportunity people have been waiting for. He is responsible for all the migrants that he has personally sent up north. And he has a vision for a tool he wants to build. We're going to get a room full of people together over at Epicenter, May 28, 29, and build it. Like one of those dream house remodel things in a weekend. So if you are an awesome developer and you want to be part of that, let me know. And come tomorrow night and hear him tell his amazing story of the amazing challenges he goes through and everything. It's kind of crazy. But it's kind of important because I think once they adopt it, I think the employers and the employer unions like Protargana and Omega, I think they'll promote it to their groups, and we can really make a real big impact. I think it'll be amazing. Okay. You were amazing, by the way. That was me clapping in the back, by the way. Just want to say. Just had to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Annie, yeah, she has been a great support of the committee as well. So that's 1st of June. And Annie, I don't know how much I am very thankful, and this personally it has been an honor. And I don't know any, I don't vote in Sweden yet, but when I do, and I can, I will vote for you. This is not anything related to startup grind, but on a personal perspective. And I think that having you even as the thought of a potential prime minister one day in Sweden, I think that makes Sweden a great place to live. So thank you very, very much, and I wish you all the best for the debate tomorrow and for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much, and thank you for coming and listen, and for all the questions. I'll try to answer them as quick as possible on Twitter. Thank you.
And I would, you can clap now.